Hello lovely people and welcome to a somewhat different location. Today I'm filming from the floor of our guest room because as a lot of you know, my parents are currently staying here. They're here for 2 weeks and I'm taking holidays. They went out for a walk with Nicola, so I'm taking this opportunity to sit down and chat a little bit with you because I really miss chatting with you. So today, as you've already guessed from the title of the video, we're going to be doing something that I've been doing already for like 2 years straight. This is the third year in a row that I'm doing it, which is a little bit of like a roundup of everything that I bought from the months of January to July and giving mini reviews of the products that I have purchased because I had the time to like test them and see how I enjoy them and so on and so forth. And to me those are always really fun to watch because I really like to see first of all what people bought and how they have been enjoying it. A lot of people will do these kind of videos monthly as like a monthly roundup or a monthly haul, but oftentimes I will just not have bought enough products in a month to really be able to do such a video. So to me it's more worth doing it like every half a year and then we have enough to talk about, and yes, it's going to be a long video. So if you don't have a snack and is something to drink already, then just go ahead and get that. Okay, so starting off with the month of January. The month of January was a relatively spendy month, and the first 4 products that I purchased in that month actually were not purchased by myself. They were a present from my husband, but you know, I consider our finances to sort of come from the same place, so I consider them as something that I purchased for myself. Those were the 4 Fude brushes that I mentioned also in a video that I filmed. After that, if you want to check out my full review and demo of these brushes, I'm going to link that up here in the cards for you. But basically I bought 4 brushes from 3 different brands. Now let's start off with the one that I have 2 brushes from, and those are 2 of Wayne Goss's brushes. I don't actually know the names of these, I just have the numbers. The 01 is his foundation brush, so it's like a sort of slanted. It is what you would consider a stippling brush, so it has a little bit of those, I don't know how to describe them better than just like spiky, you know, endings. It is an okay brush for the application of foundation. I bought it because it was one of the more affordable Fude brushes for the application of foundation, and the reason I didn't want to go too expensive with my purchases is because I've always been a sponge girl, especially like the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge, and I never enjoyed using brushes to apply my foundation because they always seemed to accentuate dry flakes on my skin that I didn't even know I had. Every other brush that I've ever used has done that, so I didn't really have much of hope. The only reason I got interested in using brushes for my foundation was the mini base brush from Sonia G. And yes, this evening I am going to be stalking that fucking website to at least score the classic base brush, at least one of them. But anyway, to circle back to what I was saying, this is one of the reasons I picked up one of the more affordable foundation brushes. And like I said, it's an okay brush. It's not my favorite because due to the stippling nature of it, I feel like it still leaves a little bit of streaks on your face when you buff it in. Like, I'm a round motion buffer kind of person, and this leaves a little bit of streaks that you have to work a little bit to get into your skin. It doesn't take too long to buff your foundation in, but it's, you know, it's not my favorite experience of all the Fude brushes that I've tried. However, what I really like this brush for is cream bronzer and cream blush. I think it does a really good job at applying those and giving them a beautiful airbrushed finish. The second brush from Wayne Goss that I purchased is another one that I don't fucking know the name of, and I think it has something with like airbrush in the name, but it is a blue squirrel brush. Again, this is probably one of the more affordable or the most affordable like blue squirrel brush that I have seen so far. And that's the reason I wanted to try it, because I was very curious about blue squirrel. And yes, this is an exceptionally soft brush. I don't have a brush in my collection that is quite as soft as this one from Wayne Goss. As you can see, it's sort of like a flat petal brush, and it has a little bit of like tapering here as it goes towards the tip here. I bought this brush with the idea that I'm going to use it to like sort of like dust powder strategically on my face. But what I have found myself using this brush mostly for is light application of highlighter. It works really well for that. It's such a beautiful soft brush. It does work for powder blushes as well. You can use it for quite a few things. but I tend to be a creature of habit sometimes, and I kind of like stick to a specific brush with like a specific use for it. And I think I could probably use this brush for more things, but I do tend to use it for powder highlighter. The third brush that I had in my order was the Sonergy Sculpt 4 brush, which is a fan brush. And what's interesting about this brush is that it is quite dense, and from what I remember very vaguely, you might have to check my original video for it, the length of the bristles differs a little bit from one side to the other. Now, what I like to use this brush for mainly is cream and powder, bronzer and blush. It works beautifully for both. It fits right in here under your cheekbones if you want to apply bronzer. It fits right onto your cheek if you want to apply blush. The only thing you need to be careful with a brush like this is that because it's so dense, it can pack quite a punch. But at the same time, it diffuses it really easily. So I do really like this brush. Do I think that I really needed a brush like this in my collection? I don't think so. I was just very curious about it. And the last brush is probably my favorite one of the 4 that I bought, and this is the Koyudo Mini Fupa brush. I think this is the number 06. There is a bigger version of this brush, but I thought that for my shape and size of my face, the mini would be fine, so I purchased this brush and I adore it. It is a brush that is meant to be used with liquid products like foundation, bronzer, blush, whatever you have it. This is such an incredible brush. At first I wasn't quite sure, because this is the kind of brush, as you can see, because of the shape of the bristles, that you might have to like apply your foundation a little bit more in this motion rather than the buffing like circular motion, which I'm more used to. But it actually works really well. Like, you can do this, you can do a little bit of that. It buffs foundation really beautifully. It works with pretty much with every kind of foundation that I've tried so far, and I've really enjoyed this brush. Sometimes I will just go on a spree and just use only this brush for a couple of weeks to apply all of my base products, especially if I'm going through a phase when I only want to use like cream products on my face. But I absolutely love this brush, highly recommend it. It is a relatively affordable brush for a full day. It's again a combination of natural and synthetic hairs, and I've been really enjoying it. And yes, it is a very petite brush, but I honestly don't mind that. I actually think that when you want to apply your base, having this much control is not a bad thing, but it's actually an advantage. Going further into the month of January, Pat McGrath announced and released her Valentine's Day collection, the Divine Rose collection, which once again was heavily pink based. As you guys know, I did a specific video demoing all of both of the products, so I can link that up for you as well. But the Divine Rose highlighter, I think, has rightfully earned its place as one of the most favorite highlighters of pretty much everyone who has tried it, because it has that beautiful like baked gelée formula that she has in her Mothership palettes, and the formula on these is just so incredibly beautiful. I'm going to try to swatch some of my favorite products for you, but this has such a gorgeous finish to it. It's like a pink with a golden duochrome, and it has that quality where you can apply a very sheer layer of it, you can build it up for more intensity, and over the course of the day it just kind of like melts with your skin, and it looks like the most beautiful and natural glow. I love the formula of this highlighter. And as I mentioned, the second product I bought from this collection is the Quad, the Eternal Eden Quad, which I'm also wearing for the most part on my eyes today. The Quad looks like this, and the shades that I'm wearing today are the pink matte shade, and the shades that I'm wearing today are the warm pink matte shade all over my lid and blending it to my crease. And then I have applied this shade here, the shade Pink Mystique, all over my lid. Now, of all the 4 shades that are featured in this quad, I have to give it to this shade, though, the once again pink golden duochrome, because it is such a soft and beautiful shade. It has the most beautiful like soft pearlescent finish to it, and while in the pan it looks like one of those shades that's not going to have a lot of impact on your lid, when you put it on your lid, and especially when you like foil it with Fix Plus, it just kind of glows, and it just looks so flattering because of the undertone. It has that very flattering like warmer like yellow leaning pink undertone and that beautiful golden duochrome over top of it, and it just looks absolutely beautiful. And what I like to do with this shade is I pair it with the Ritualistic Rose Quad from the Opulence 2018 collection, where you have this like topper shade, which has exactly the same duochrome, but it's also loaded with sparkle. It's also what I'm wearing on my lids today. I have this shade on my lid and then like the tiniest bit of that Ritualistic Rose Quad special topper shade, and they just make the most beautiful combination. And I just love wearing this quad because it's so easy. The two mauve shades, so this one and this one, are also really beautiful. This one in particular has such an incredible finish to it. Look at that, it just glows and it just looks wet and punchy and luscious on your lids. Beautiful. This quad is just so underrated. Yes, I sympathize with you. I think we are all really done with the pink shades, but I have to give it to Pat. This was a very good eyeshadow palette. As I mentioned, January was a very spendy month, so I ended the month with a relatively big purchase from the Auric website. Auric, or like Glow by Auric, I think that's the official name of the brand, is the brand that was founded by Samantha Ravendal, who is a YouTuber and one of the bigger names in the beauty influencer world. She launched two types of products, a liquid luminizer called Glow Last, and those spot like cream and powder eyeshadows. I'm going to mention them very quickly. Smoke Reflex is what they're called. By the way, I'm going to start off with the Auric Glow Last, and I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it because you have literally seen me wear this in every single video in the past few months. Ever since I got this, I have been, I hate saying that because I hate when people on YouTube use that word, obsessed with it, but I have been really obsessed with it. And what I really enjoy about this product, and I have mentioned on many occasions, is that it has a little bit of coverage. It doesn't have any visible shimmer to it, and it just glows when you put it on your skin. So it's smooth, it has a little bit of coverage, it doesn't have any visible shimmer to it. Let me see if I can squeeze the tiniest bit for you, so that you can see how it just stays on my hand. A lot of liquid luminizers are quite liquidy, but this one has quite a thick texture. Let me try to also give you a tiny bit of a swatch. This is the shade Selenite, by the way, this, by the way, is the shade Selenite, which I thought would be the shade that fits me the most. And most reviews that I have seen on YouTube about this product have been pretty positive, and I think something that I noticed is how differently people use this product. So for instance, I gave a sample of this to my friend Alice from Alice's Beauty Madness, and she seems to only be using it truly as a highlighter, so as like a finishing touch to her makeup. Whereas for me, this is more of a base product, because I really like to highlight here underneath my eyes and on my cheekbones before I go in with my concealer and foundation. I use the Glow Last by Auric mainly for that purpose. I will sometimes also use it just as a highlighter dabbed onto my cheekbones. It works beautifully like that too. But for me personally, what makes this product so unique is the way it looks underneath my eyes and how it brightens them and how it hydrates them. And I just love this product so much that as soon as she does a restock, I'm probably going to grab a backup, because I literally use it every single day. Now when it comes to the Smoke Reflex, so the product that comes with the little pot with cream eyeshadow, let me show you. So this is the shade Defiance. This is the pot, and this is the little sparkly topper over top of it. It's a beautiful like bronzy shade. I really like the two products that I purchased. So these are the shades Ego and Defiance. Like I said, Defiance is the more bronzy shade, Ego is the more like gunmetal gray shade. I like Defiance just a little bit more than the shade Ego. Mostly I don't really like the cream pot part of the shade Ego, because I don't know, it's just your basic gunmetal gray, which is fine. But what I really think makes this product special is the topper that comes with it, because it has this most beautiful like gray sage green shade to it. I don't really like using the pot, like the cream part of Ego on its own. However, once you put the topper over top of it, let me see whether I can show you. There it is. It's just such a beautiful tone, such an unique and interesting tone. On to a somewhat more boring purchase. I purchased a new concealer. This is the... oh, I always forget the name of this brand. First Aid Beauty. First Aid Beauty. Jesus, I will never ever remember the name of this brand. As per recommendation of my good friend Melissa Gold here on YouTube, I bought the First Aid Beauty Hello Fab Bendy Avocado Concealer. I'm really happy with it. It's one of those concealers that is quite hydrating under the eyes. It looks very natural. Now moving into the months of March and April, those were relatively quiet for me. So in the month of March I bought one thing, which was one of the little kits that Pat was selling when she opened her vault with like older products, so products that she had released around the beginning of her brand, and that every now and then she opens the vault and she re-releases those. And the reason I bought the kit, and by the way, the kit contained an eyeshadow, an eye gloss, and a black eye kohl pencil, was the eyeshadow. So I'm only going to show you the eyeshadow because I've actually never used the pencil, so I'm going to give it away to one of my friends. And I'm trying to sell the eye gloss because an eye gloss is such an impractical thing for someone like me who uses their makeup for, you know, utilitarian reasons and not to do Instagram makeup, which I think this eye gloss is the only thing that it's good for. So the reason I bought the whole kit was the ultraviolet blue pressed pigment, which looks like this. It is a beautiful like blurple shade loaded with blue and green sparkles. Let me swatch this for you right here. So that is the shade right here. It is a beautiful, like I said, very purple leaning blue loaded with a bunch of sparkle that I'm not sure you can see now. While this is a gorgeous eyeshadow, I don't think that the formula on this is super special. It's not one of her special shades, it's not one of her very sparkly shades. I think she has newer formulas which are superior to this. But I really wanted this color, so I bought it. I don't really have major regrets about it, but given that I use only 1/3 of the kit, was it really worth it? I don't know. And then in the month of April, I want to say Melt announced that they were going to release their cream blush light, so their version of cream blushes, and I purchased 2 of the shades. I have a dedicated video on those as well. Again, I'm going to link that for you in the cards if you're curious to check it out. I bought these shades, Lynx and Sundown. I love the formula on these. They look beautiful on the skin, but what I loved the most about this release is the beautiful undertones that they released. It was a very monochromatic release in the sense that all the shades were leaning a little bit towards the peachy, terracotta, pumpkin side of the spectrum, but since I love those tones of blushes, and I don't find that brands release those tones of blushes very often, I fell in love with this particular release. They are a little bit more of like a waxy texture, so it really depends on what you enjoy in your cream blush, whether you like something that's a little bit more like a mousse or something that's more liquid like the Daniel Sandler watercolor blushes. These are a little bit more waxy. That being said, they look really beautiful and flawless on the skin. Oh, something that I forgot to show you. I'm not actually sure that I bought this this year, but I think that I received it in the beginning of this year, so I count it as something that I purchased this year. I think it was around the like New Year sales that I purchased this, but it's one of the Blitz Trans lipsticks from Pat McGrath, and more specifically the shade Flash 3. It was on sale for 13 euros, and I couldn't say no to that because I love the Blitz Trans formula. I have one of the shades, the shade Blood Rush, which is a gorgeous red with golden shimmer to it, and I love the Flash colors from Pat McGrath. I do have the Flash 3 color in the matte trans version. I have it also in the lip balm version. Now the only thing I'm going to say about this, when I compare this shade to the shade Blood Rush, which is one of her newer, I feel like, Blitz Trans lipsticks, this has a more chunky gold glitter to it. So compared to the one that I have that's red with a golden shimmer, where the golden shimmer feels very finely milled and it just gives a nice sheen to the lips, this gives a nice sheen to the lips as well, but I feel like you can feel a little bit more of like that grittiness and like chunkier looking glitter once the lipstick starts to wear off. I don't have that feeling with the shade Blood Rush. I feel like with Blood Rush it's more homogeneously infused, whereas here the glitter is just a little bit chunkier, which is not my favorite. That being said, I still really enjoy the color. I wear it all the time, especially in combination with the Matte Trans in Flash 3. Now we're going into the month of May, which was once again a really spendy month for me. I bought something kind of on a whim, which is this Dior Backstage Face and Body Powder No Powder, because I saw some positive reviews on it and it looks like the kind of product that I would really enjoy, which is like a very light powder, something that is not even a powder but more like those like baked gelée formulas. And the name of this is just so fitting with what the product actually is. It's called a No Powder, and when you put your brush into it and you swirl, you can swirl all you want, you're not going to get any powder kick up, because this is the kind of formula that is not really a powder, and when you put it on your skin you cannot really detect it. It doesn't look like a powder at all, it kind of like melts with your skin. I have the shade 2N, by the way. I also have the foundation in 2N. I really enjoy this powder. It's such a gorgeous finish on the skin. I will say though, if you have oilier skin, I don't think this is going to work for you. Alright, and now we're moving into the most anticipated, biggest release of the year so far, which was the Divine Blush Collection from Pat McGrath, which came not only with blushes but also with a highlighter, an eyeshadow quad, a number of lip products. I have done at least 2 videos on those that I can maybe link up here for you, but I think I might have exhausted my cards by now. Anyway, so let's start off with the product that of course was the most highly anticipated, which is the Divine Blushes. Oh my goodness, these people went bonkers about these, because we have been begging Pat McGrath to release blushes for the longest fucking time, and she teased and gave us other things in the meantime every time we thought it's going to be a blush. So by the time she released the blushes, everyone was just super ready for that release, including myself. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the blushes because I've talked about them so extensively, but what I will mention is I was a little bit disappointed almost when they arrived, because they are, you know, a classic powder blush. Now that I have used them for 2 months straight, oh my goodness, you guys, these are my favorite blushes that have been released this year. So many blushes have been released this year that I've lost count, and these are my absolute favorite. I am currently wearing the shade Desert Orchid, which is also my favorite shade of the 3 that I purchased. It is a gorgeous bronze rose shade with a little bit of a golden pearl to it. I don't know how to describe the formula on these. I have the shades Desert Orchid, Nude Venus, which is more of like a peachy pink with a golden sheen, and finally I have one of the demi mattes, which is the shade Paradise Venus, which is described as a terracotta demi matte, and it's also the deepest shade that I purchased. These look so flawless on the skin. Like, there's something about the formula that, despite being your classic powder, is not really your classic powder. There is something about the formula that looks so fucking flawless on the skin. I love just popping those without any makeup on if I'm having a very lazy day, and they will look flawless and beautiful, and they will like smoothen my skin. I don't know how to describe these blushes. They are an experience you need to have on your own in order to really understand why I love these blushes so much. I do find a lot of them to be very pink leaning, which is why I really still enjoy the Melt blush release so much, because it was so pumpkin and orange based, but I do love the formula of the Pat blushes the most. I also purchased the highlighter in Golden Nectar, which is what you can also see on my cheekbones today. It is this beautiful, like, golden peach beige kind of highlighter. Again, I said in my original review that this was nothing special, and oh my god, I ate my words 100 times since then, because this is a very beautiful formula. It's so silky smooth, and it just melts into your skin so beautifully. I will say one thing though, if you happen to have her Skin Fetish Highlighter Trio, I don't think you need this, because you can achieve a very similar tone of the highlighter just mixing colors from that trio. And I also think the finish on the highlighter trio is just as beautiful as this. It's slightly more shimmery, so slightly more sparkly. This is a bit less sparkly, although it is very intense. I'm going to say that it is very intense, but at the same time I feel like they're comparable enough for you to not need both. I really enjoy both, and I use both all the time. I haven't been able to put down this highlighter. I love it so very much. The final product that I picked up from this release, like I said, is the eyeshadow quad, the Venus Influence Voyeuristic Vixen Quad, which I absolutely love as well. It features a little bit more like a neutral peachy array of tones, and the absolute standout for me in this eyeshadow quad are the like burgundy brown matte shade, as well as of course this gorgeous shade here called Rosefire Nectar, which is not one of her special shades, but it is just as impactful, sparkly and beautiful as her special shades. It's a bit more flaky, so you do need to be careful with it, and I feel like It's best applied with a finger over a glitter base or spritzed with Fix Plus, but it has such a beautiful impact to it. I will link, of course, the video where I featured all the products so you can see the quad in action. And by the way, thinking about my purchases this year, I realized that I have only purchased 2 eyeshadow palettes so far this year. So these were the Eternal Eden quad and the Voyeuristic Vixen quad, which makes me feel a little bit doubtful that we're going to have a ranking of eyeshadow palettes this year, because the way it's going, Mother is probably going to release something around the upcoming few weeks. She's been teasing what I think is the release of a Mothership palette, but the way it's going, I think we're not going to be able to rank eyeshadow palettes this year, you guys. I've gotten even more critical with everything I purchase, and I've been tempted a couple of times by Natasha Denona, by Melt Cosmetics, but never enough to purchase anything. So overall, I haven't really brought that many new eyeshadows into my collection this whole year. Let's move into actually what is the last purchase that I have made for the month of June and early July, and this was the release from Lisa Eldridge. Lisa Eldridge released her own version of liquid blushes, the what are these called again? The Enlivening Blush, which come in those little squeezy tubes. I have mine in the shade Dante's Dream. I have a demo on this blush. I've used it several times since then, and I can't say anything negative about it. I really enjoy the formula. It's like a light, moussey, like serum gel formula. It works beautifully on the skin. You can apply it with your fingers, you can apply it with a brush. The shade of Dante's Dream is also beautiful and universally flattering, and just one of those shades that you can pop on with any look. I've been really happy with this blush. The second product that I purchased from her release was one of her lip glosses, and I bought the shade Affair. She has a corresponding lipstick, one of her velvets in that color, which is a really beautiful shade. It's one of her most popular shades. It's currently sold out. I do really love the gloss on this because it has the most beautiful like caramel brown tone. It's a very comfortable gloss, it's a very nourishing gloss, and I've really been enjoying wearing it. I've worn it several times since I purchased it. But what I really wanted to give a shout out to in this release are the Luxuriously Luscient lip colors. So these are her lip, like tinted lip balm, cream lipstick type of shades. I wouldn't call them a cream lipstick because they don't have full opacity to them. I would call them more a buildable tinted lip balm. I have 2 shades here. In the original video where I filmed my first impressions with this release, I had the shade Spirited Away. I have worn the shade Spirited Away like crazy since I bought it. It is this gorgeous like brown red nude, and I've loved wearing this shade so much that I actually regretted not getting the second shade that I will show you. And the interesting story with that shade is, it is also the lipstick that I currently have on my lips. This is the shade Atomic Cherry. Atomic Cherry was the only shade that was actually sold out, and then very coincidentally I was going through the comment section of a video talking about this release, and someone mentioned that she had a small restock of Atomic Cherry and it was currently on the website. So I basically like ran to the website and the shade was in stock and I purchased it immediately, and I'm so happy that I did because it is again currently out of stock and I don't know whether it's even coming back this year. But the shade Atomic Cherry is this gorgeous coral red shade, and what I want to say about the formula on these and what I enjoy so much about them, they are comfortable, nourishing, and it's so interesting how you can apply one layer to have a very sheer amount of color, or you can build and build and build to almost get into full opacity, and they never get too much on your lips. Like, you never feel like you have too much product on your lips, you just feel like you applied more lip balm, and yet they look like so luscious and plush and gorgeous on the lips, and oh, I've been loving them so much. Both the shade Spirited Away and the shade Atomic Cherry. Now the only thing I want to warn you with the shade Atomic Cherry though, because it is a coral red and it has a little bit of that white pigment to it, it is not very forgiving if you have like dry flaky lips. If you have dry flaky lips, it will settle on your flakes, it will accentuate them, and it will not look pretty. So if you want this shade, make sure that you exfoliate it really well and that your lips are in fairly good condition. With the shade Spirited Away, I haven't had that experience, but I have with the shade Atomic Cherry. Last week when I used it, I was feeling a little bit tired and dehydrated, and my lips were a little bit dry, and you could immediately see it settling into my flaky lips. And this week my lips are doing just fine, and I've been wearing this lipstick so much and I've been enjoying it so very much. But be careful. It is a buildable tinted lip balm. It's not a cream lipstick, it's not a very long-lasting lipstick. I do find that it leaves a very beautiful stain behind, but it is, you know, in the realm of tinted lip balms. It's not going to give you opacity if that's what you're after. Alright you guys, this has been over 40 minutes of footage. My camera is overheating, so I have to wrap this video up relatively quickly before it decides to shut down again. I'm curious what your top 3 products are that you purchased in the past half a year. I wish you an enjoyable holiday if you're currently taking holiday, or I hope that you are going to take a little bit of holiday very soon. Again, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!